Have you ever been in a situation where you gave everything, your love, your patience, your loyalty, to someone, only to be left wondering why they felt nothing when you walked away? You were there. You showed up. You stayed through the silence, the distance, the mixed signals. You kept hoping that maybe, just maybe, they'd finally realize what you meant to them. And when they didn't, it broke you. But here's the truth most people never tell you. Avoidant exes do feel your absence, just not in the way or on the timeline you expect. I'm Jim Rohn, and today I'm going to share a shift so powerful it rewrites the entire emotional dynamic between you and your avoidant ex. Because the second you do this one thing, everything changes. Their sense of control starts to crack. The silence they once used to push you away becomes the same silence that forces them to feel, and the emotional distance they relied on to feel safe, it starts working against them. This isn't about playing games or trying to get them back. It's about understanding the psychology of space and learning how reclaiming your energy, calmly, quietly, without drama, is the most powerful message you'll ever send. If you've ever asked yourself, do they even miss me? Stay with me. The answer isn't just yes. It's how, when, and why they start to feel it once you finally stop chasing. Make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and drop a comment below if you've ever felt invisible after loving someone with an avoidant style. This video is going to change how you see everything. Let's dive in. Let's clear something up. When an avoidant pulls away, they're not running from you. They're running from the emotional closeness that being with you brings up. And that's a big difference. It's not that you're too much, too needy, or too intense. It's that intimacy, for them, feels like standing too close to a fire they don't know how to control. They weren't taught how to handle emotional vulnerability. Maybe in childhood, needing someone led to disappointment or rejection. So their brain learned, distance keeps me safe. So what do? They create space. Sometimes it looks like canceling plans. Other times they change the subject when things get emotional. Or they just go quiet for days with no explanation. And here you are, left wondering, did I do something wrong? Did I say too much? But the truth is, the deeper your connection grows, the more exposed they feel. Being seen emotionally isn't comforting to them, it's threatening. So their instinct is to protect themselves with emotional distance, not because they don't care, but because getting too close activates old fears. Fears of losing control, of depending on someone, of being let down again. Think about it like this. You express your feelings, you're being open, honest, vulnerable, and instead of leaning in, they shut down. It's not about you. It's about the fact that you just stepped into emotional territory they've spent a lifetime avoiding. Once you understand this, you stop blaming yourself. You stop chasing for reassurance, and you start realizing their walls aren't about your worth. They're about their wounds. Let's talk about something that might feel a little uncomfortable, but could change everything. The more you chase, the more they feel in control. I know that's hard to hear, especially when all you wanted was to feel close, to fix the distance, or just understand what went wrong. But here's the thing. When you're dealing with someone who's avoidant, your effort to reconnect often has the opposite effect. See, avoidants are used to being the one who decides when things move forward and when they pull away. That back and forth, hot and cold rhythm isn't accidental. It creates an emotional dynamic where they hold the power, and you're always responding. So when you keep texting after they go quiet, when you send long messages trying to explain how much you care or how confused you are, you're unintentionally reinforcing the dynamic they're most comfortable with. They retreat, you chase. Imagine this. They ghost you for a few days and then out of nowhere they like a post of yours or send a casual message. Not to re-engage fully, but just enough to keep you emotionally hooked. And if you reply right away or open the door again without pause, they subconsciously register that as I still have control over this. That's why one of the most powerful things you can do is step back, not to punish them, but to break the cycle. When you stop over-explaining, stop seeking clarity they're not ready to give, and just let go with grace, something shifts. You remove the emotional fuel they've been feeding off. They're no longer in charge of your self-worth story. And that subtle shift in energy, they feel it, even if they don't show it right away. Here's where things start to shift. The moment you stop reacting, their emotional framework starts to fall apart. And no, I'm not talking about ghosting them to get revenge or playing hard to get. I'm talking about a grounded, calm detachment. When you stop explaining yourself, stop trying to fix their silence, stop reacting to every hot and cold move with anxiety or overcompensation, that's when something very real begins to happen. They feel it. Avoidants are used to controlling the pace and depth of emotional connection. They decide when to show up and when to disappear. But that only works as long as you're still playing the game, still reaching, still hoping, still trying. The second you pull your energy back, not in anger, but from a place of peace, they feel the shift. It's subtle, but powerful. Picture this. They send a vague message after a week of silence, maybe something like, "Hey, how have you been?" In the past, you might have responded instantly with warmth, hoping this was a sign they missed you. But now, you take your time. Maybe you don't respond at all. Or if you do, it's brief, neutral, and emotionally centered. No drama, no chasing, just space. That space is what breaks the cycle, because for the first time they're not in control of your emotions. And that throws off the entire balance they've relied on to feel emotionally safe. Without your reactions, without your predictable responses, they're left alone with the one thing they've avoided most: their own feelings. And that's when the real discomfort starts for them, not because you hurt them, but because you stopped giving them what they unconsciously depended on, your emotional presence, on their terms. Here's something that might surprise you. Your calm silence can shake an avoidant more than any confrontation ever could. Not silence used as a tactic, not passive-aggressive ignoring, but real, grounded, emotionally clean silence. The kind that comes from growth, from peace, from realizing that you no longer need their attention, validation, or presence to feel okay. Avoidants are used to people reacting. They expect long messages, emotional pleas, last-ditch efforts. And when they don't get that, when you don't chase, don't post cryptic things online, don't try to get a reaction out of them, it disrupts the entire emotional script they've been rehearsing their whole life. See, in a typical avoidant dynamic, they pull away and wait. They expect you'll still be there when they're ready, checking in, sending a thoughtful meme, liking their stories. But when that stops, when you go quiet and stay quiet, not out of punishment, but because you've returned to yourself, it creates a kind of emotional vacuum, one they weren't prepared for. Imagine this. You used to light up their phone with care, affection, and steady emotional availability. You were the one who grounded the relationship emotionally. But now, your energy is gone. You didn't storm out. You didn't slam the door. You just stopped showing up where you weren't met. That absence speaks volumes, and it echoes in the space they've spent years trying to keep emotionally safe, because now they feel the void. And this part is important. They don't miss you immediately, not in the way anxious types tend to feel loss. Avoidants often have a delayed emotional response. At first they may feel relieved, but then comes the silence. Not yours, the silence inside them. And in that silence, the truth sets in. The person they once thought would always be there isn't. And that awareness hits them deeper than they'll ever admit. They start checking your social media, wondering if you've moved on, maybe even testing the waters with a casual message. But it's not coming from a place of strength, it's coming from disorientation. You're no longer feeding their emotional system. You've broken the loop. That's the emotional earthquake. And it wasn't caused by shouting, chasing, or begging. It was caused by your peace, your stillness, your quiet decision to choose you. That's what creates change. That's what they remember. And even if they never say it, they feel it. One of the most powerful things you can ever do after being in a relationship with an avoidant is this: focus on your own growth. Not to prove anything, not to make them jealous, but because the most healing, empowering move you can make is to build a life that's for you, not centered around someone else's emotional availability or lack of it. Avoidantly attached people often create emotional dynamics where they feel in control. They decide when to connect, when to disappear, and how close you're allowed to get. And when you were caught in that cycle, chances are you adjusted your needs just to keep them around. Maybe you over-explained yourself, minimized your emotions, or bent your boundaries. You may not have realized it, but you were shrinking, playing small so they wouldn't feel overwhelmed, waiting for crumbs of affection, hoping it meant more than it did. But here's the shift. When you stop trying to be understood and start becoming someone who understands themselves, everything changes. You stop waiting for their validation and start giving it to yourself. You stop orbiting around their emotional pullbacks and begin walking in your own direction with purpose. You invest in your health, your peace, your goals. You reconnect with the parts of yourself you may have forgotten while focusing so hard on keeping that connection alive. And guess what? That's when things get really uncomfortable for the avoidant. Why? Because their sense of emotional superiority, often unconscious, starts to unravel. The quiet story they've been telling themselves, "They need me more than I need them," doesn't hold up anymore. You're no longer waiting at the door. You're building something beautiful without them. Let me give you an example. Say you used to check their social media, hoping for a sign they still cared. Now, you're too busy focusing on your side hustle, your new routine, your inner healing. You stop posting to get their attention and start sharing things that reflect who you are now, stronger, wiser, grounded. You're not playing a role in their emotional drama anymore. You've stepped off their stage. And whether they say it or not, they notice. The avoidant, who once felt in control by staying distant, suddenly feels the tension shift. You, the one they underestimated or quietly labeled as too much, become someone they can't reach anymore. Not because you're blocking them, but because you're no longer energetically available. And that gets under their skin more than any angry text ever could. Because here's the truth. People with avoidant attachment aren't immune to longing. They just feel it later. And when they do, it's not your presence they miss. It's your growth, the light you've stepped into, the peace you've claimed, the way you stopped chasing and started choosing yourself. That's not revenge, that's transformation. So if you're wondering what to do now, start there. Focus on becoming the version of you who doesn't have to prove anything to anyone. The one who knows their worth, speaks their truth, and walks away when they're not being met. That's what truly disrupts the avoidance dynamic. Not noise, not drama. Your quiet, grounded evolution. As we close out today's video, I want to leave you with this truth. You are never too much. You are just asking for connection from someone who didn't know how to receive it. We've talked about the avoidant dynamic, how they pull away when things get close, how your chasing keeps them feeling in control, and how everything starts to shift when you stop reacting and start healing. The real turning point isn't when they come back. It's when you come back to yourself, when your peace becomes more important than their confusion, when your growth, not their attention, becomes your focus. The moment you stop needing to be seen and start seeing yourself clearly, that's when their emotional power over you begins to dissolve. And that's when they feel the loss. Not because you played a game, but because you grew beyond the version of you who once waited for breadcrumbs. That kind of healing, it's magnetic and permanent. Thank you so much for being here and sharing this space with me. If this message resonated with you, I'd love to hear your story in the comments. What part hit home? What are you walking away with today? And if you want more support as you continue to grow, let go, and reclaim your peace, make sure to subscribe, tap the notification bell, and stay connected. You're not alone in this. Your clarity, your boundaries, and your healing matter. Until next time, keep choosing yourself. Quietly, powerfully, unapologetically.